Southern Cameroon's crown of freedom, you have it.
My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, welcome to another breathtaking video. In this video, we are going to analyze what might potentially happen to Issa Tchiroma if he returns to Cameroon. We are going to discuss something very intricate about power that most people fail to understand. We are also going to analyze the recent speech made by Ayaba while in prison in Norway, and the lesson anyone with the slogan Ambazonia should observe from this interview moving forward. With that being said, let's dive into what might happen if Issa Tchiroma returns to Cameroon. This is that part of power that most people don't pay attention to. In the book, The 48 Laws of Power, written by Robert Greene, law number 1 says, never outshine the master. Nicolas Fouquet, France's finance minister to Louis XIV, built a palace magnificent than that of the king. What happened? He was arrested, tried for embezzlement, and sentenced to life in prison. His crime, he tried to outshine the master. I want to be honest with us as to how power actually works. Some will say some things to you to make you feel good, trigger your emotions, and have you out there and you lose your life. But that is not what I'm here for. If Issa Tchiroma were to return to Cameroon, it will not be treated as a normal political disagreement. Remember, he has worked for that regime for more than 2 decades, more than 20 years. He has some skeletons in his cupboard. So it will be treated as a disciplinary example. Not because of what he said publicly alone, but because of what his return would symbolize. Remember, the government bought a software called Pegasus. Pegasus was not bought, that spyware was not bought for ordinary citizens. It was bought to monitor top officials in the government. Do you understand? That a senior insider can break ranks, challenge the system, and still walk free. That means every minister will be thinking about their own games to play. And if a foreign nation endorses that, they have ministers that work for them. That means they will be thinking of doing the same thing. So no state, no nation will openly support Issa Tchiroma. This is different from the corrupt regime all by itself. We put everything in frameworks and categories so that we don't mix them. Systems don't allow that. What could happen is simple and predictable. First, selective prosecution. Charges don't need to be new. They only need to be available. Embezzlement, misuse of public funds, procedural violations. These files exist on almost every long-term serving minister. They don't get open until someone steps out of line. The reason why I make these videos is because when the next election shows up for citizens of La République du Cameroon, look for an outsider. Podcasters, those who run media outlets, look for an outsider and promote that outsider because they don't have too much skeletons in their cupboard. Do you understand? it will be difficult for any insider to ever save La République du Cameroon. Yeah, Southern Cameroonians are not Cameroonians by legitimacy. Yet, Ninjon Frunzi actually triggered that system to an extent. It will be confusing that we don't have a union treaty with La République du Cameroon, and that system, or the Francophone elites, allow Ninjon Frunzi to become president. He would have become president if we had a union treaty. Second, containment through fear. If one high-profile figure is arrested or humiliated on return, the message is sent instantly to every other minister. Don't try this. Living quietly is one thing. Challenging the system is another. Do you understand? Third, information leverage. You've heard that Cameroon bought the Pegasus spyware. That is not for the average citizen. That is for top officials. And that software was developed by an Israeli firm, NSO. This tool is designed for state-level surveillance. Calls, messages, networks. Its purpose is not social media users. It's senior figures. That means the state doesn't need guesses. They don't need guesswork. It has records, patterns, and context. Because what was happening now was other ministers were allegedly collaborating with Issa Tchiroma to provide information for Issa Tchiroma to bring down the regime. That is dangerous globally. But you want change, you want a new president, you want something new, so you're caught up in your emotions. But global leaders are looking at something different. Now, here's the part many people misunderstand. Global powers will not rush in to defend Issa Tchiroma. And here's why. Because those same countries run governments of their own. They have ministers too, cabinets, chain of command. Are you seeing this? No serious state rewards behavior that encourages officials anywhere to study their boss, defect publicly, and expect protection. I bet you didn't know this. That will collapse discipline globally. So silence is not betrayal, it's policy. That is why Issa Tchiroma staying away is not cowardice. It is called realism. Reality. I told you we are going to solve this problem using frameworks. And our framework for conflict resolution has 4 categories. Number 1 is ignorance. We assume people don't know, so we teach. After we teach, we assume they have information. If they don't do anything, we assume they are cowards. If they do the wrong thing, we assume they are compromising. So when they justify, which is the last category, we won't take their justification as righteousness. We are going to set the record straight. And it's why others watching should understand the lesson clearly. So every minister watching what has happened to Issa Tchiroma are learning. Never try this. Power doesn't argue. It sets example. Another good example that I would like to use on this, and then we are going to dive into Cho Ayaba's speech. After the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 90s, oligarchs emerged in Russia, that is, business leaders. One thing you will understand is they wanted to build Russia. A man called Mikhail Khodorkovsky emerged as a business tycoon, an oligarch, a mogul, created the first private bank. You know, Russia is a communist nation. He wanted to introduce democracy, even though he started in the business sector, the private sector. He was a loyal oligarch. You know, as a big businessman, there are certain favors you get from the government. But what happened later on was, you know, Vladimir Putin came to power in the early 2000s, that is in the year 2000. He's been in power for 25 years, Vladimir Putin in Russia. But this is what happened with Mikhail Khodorkovsky. He started funding the opposition party in Russia. What happened to him? He was charged with fraud and tax evasion. He was in prison for years, almost 10 years. Khodorkovsky was in prison for daring the Russian government with his democratic ideas. The legal case sent a message to every other oligarch: do not mess with Russia. And this is what Vladimir Putin told them: stay away from politics and you will be fine doing business in Russia. If you get involved in politics, you're crossing the line. Russia imprisoned Khodorkovsky for 10 years in prison as a disciplinary example to every oligarch in Russia. If you keep doing business, you will be fine. But if you venture into politics, you are crossing the line. He was later released by a presidential decree. As we speak right now, he is on exile, criticizing the Russian government. Now, let's dive into the speech made by Ayaba Cho while in prison in Norway, and what everyone bearing the name Ambazonia should learn moving forward. My number is on the screen. If you have been making public statements, maybe you've been collecting donations under that label Ambazonia, even in the next 10 or 15 years, you can be prosecuted. And I'll show you why. So if you have been using that name, you can reach out so that you have the right language and what the next steps look like for you to set yourself up for success. If not, you'll be a target. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that video. It's a quite interesting speech, but there is a lot for you to learn.
You know, before you come to prison, you don't know what you made. And I came in here and I met, oh God, my life has been enriched by the people I've met here.
In Oslo prison, in detention for almost a year now, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. On charges of inciting to crime against humanity. What does that really mean? Can you describe it in your own words?
They have accused me of making speeches and making publications on Twitter and Facebook that have caused our forces fighting against Cameroon to attack civilians in Amazonia. Crimes against humanity are
in Amazonia. In Amazonia. Pay attention to that.
a series of crimes. They could constitute maybe torture, they could constitute rape, they could constitute attacking
a lot of different crimes.
And so my speeches, what I write on my Twitter account, the police said it has resulted in people committing some of these crimes.
Some of these crimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to say as we analyze this section of this video is, if you are locked up in prison anywhere around the world for Amazonia, you have the right to remain silent. In America, we have the Fifth Amendment. You have the right to remain silent and get a lawyer and zip up. I know some of you are too smart, but we are going to lose a lot of people if care is not taken. I know many joined this movement out of peer pressure without fully understanding the story of Southern Cameroons and the story of Amazonia. Because some thought maybe, oh, I'm joining Amazonia now. Oh, I've realized myself now, and so I'm part of Amazonia. No, I'm bringing about legal clarity for 65 years and putting everything together to help you understand your story. That is what I'm doing here. From the trusteeship records. You who have studied history in school, I ask again, was there any class you attended on Amazonia? Amazonia comes from Limbe, Isubo, Bimbia, Victoria. You can't even name the entire Southwest Amazonia or Ambas Bay. Doesn't make sense. You can't project Amazonia on the entire Southwest. Talk more of projecting Amazonia on the entire Southern Cameroons. You think the Norwegian government don't have historians? They don't know about Southern Cameroons. What you show up and tell them is what they will believe because you are saying it. The world is not that stupid as you think. And we have done this for over 10 years. Made our people to look stupid, going around saying they are Amazonians. This is sad. Distorting history all by itself is a crime. But let's keep listening.
I could be in prison maybe 15 years or any time longer. But the charges are fake.
You plead not guilty, right?
Yes, of course, I'm not guilty because there are no crimes. There are no crimes against humanity. There is no incitement to commit crimes against humanity. We have conducted ourselves respecting the Geneva Conventions and international humanitarian law. My arrest is a political conspiracy.
What kind of responsibility do you have for violations committed by your organization?
As a leader, I take full responsibility, and I have said that I take full responsibility. That is why when Cameroon declared war on us, the first thing we did was to produce a code of conduct.
Can you explain?
Take note, Cho Ayaba said, as a leader, I take full responsibility. Do you hear that? Cho Ayaba said, as a leader, I take full responsibility. That all by itself, the Norwegian government don't need any social media post. They don't need La République du Cameroon. Just that all by itself is incriminating. Again, you have the right to remain silent. Remember, when they arrest you, they always say you have the right to remain silent, because any statement you make will be used against you in the court of law. When Norwegian courts or Norwegian authorities send in individuals like this to interview you while you are in prison, charged for war crimes or crimes against humanity, they are not actually looking for you to admit guilt of any specific crime you committed on the ground. They just want you to admit that you said something that could create a foreseeable outcome. Take note of that word, foreseeable. That is what they are looking for. So you say, oh, I was not on the ground, I didn't hold a gun. No, what you said online, could it create a potential environment for a foreseeable outcome? That is what they are looking for. Foreseeable. Again, take note of that word, foreseeable. We will continue listening to the video, but let's take a break right here and answer a question many are asking. If Norway has not proven any allegations, why is Cho Ayaba still in prison? And some are saying this arrest was caused by La République du Cameroon. You know, our people created a narrative for 9 to 10 years. Anything that doesn't align with their objective is La République. La République is a god over them, controls their destiny, controls their life in collaboration with France. That is their narrative. It's so easy to understand. It's pathetic, but that is how they believe. Even their own people, they call us La République. If you don't agree with them, you are La République. And someone might be drowning and you're trying to help them. They say, no, this is La République. You can't help. So let's slow this down and deal only with facts. That is why I made distinctions of authentic Southern Cameroonians, our true story, trusteeship history, what we stand for, incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization, which has not been said for 65 years this way, consistently, with a framework. From Ambazonia, a name that comes from Limbe Isubu, became a political slogan in 1985. And they picked it up when the teachers and the lawyers went on the street marching in 2016, hijacked that movement and then brought it under Ambazonia and then rewrote history. Similar patterns to what Hitler did in Germany. First of all, rewrite history. Tell the people they are Ambazonians. Believe it yourself. And then tell the people that they are Ambazonians. You guys, I know you are not scared of your own people. That is why you can do with them as you want. If care is not taken and people keep going this way, you will be accountable to us, the people of Southern Cameroons, after you're done with international courts, if we don't change right now. They said it was Eritrea. Now they are saying it's Somaliland. Survival economies. They just want our people to suffer endlessly. They'll pick every example that is not consistent with our story, just to keep confusing our people and keep us in the cycle. Whatever they say out there that is not consistent with Southern Cameroons and where we are going, send me that video. My number is on the screen. And we will analyze anything that they say and set the record straight so that they don't keep confusing our people. I believe in us. I believe we deserve better. Let this confusion end this 2026. Reset. First, Norway arrested Cho Ayaba under its own laws, not La République's laws. Not foreign government, not Cameroon, not La République du Cameroon, has the power to order Norway to arrest anyone. Let's start there. You live in their countries. That decision was made by Norwegian police. approved by Norwegian prosecutors and upheld by a Norwegian court. It's not La République du Cameroon. I mean, even if you're fighting against someone and you make them this big, like they have this omnipotent power over you, how do you even expect to win? When you subject your people under this kind of mindset, how do you expect them to win? And some of you claim you're Christians. In the Bible, even David and Goliath, he looked at the giant, he said, no, I'll bring down this giant. How come you made your people look this small? You have the English heritage, for crying out loud. I'm the first who told you that Pobia can't solve this problem. That the common law system is more superior to the civil law system. English has run the world for 300 years. I told you that. I said all these things to wake you up so that you understand who you are. That English has been the diplomatic language of the world. English has run the world for 300 years. For crying out loud, this is the heritage you have. That this was incomplete independence, incomplete decolonization. Because there is no union treaty, no reference document. All we did was a plebiscite. If voting is enough, then Issa Tchiroma should be president. If voting is enough, Hillary Clinton should have been president of America in 2016. Sequence, state formation. So let's clear this myth immediately. That is not a La République ordered arrest. We take all these, their social media propagandists, and make them look large in your eyes like they have some authority. No. Doesn't work that way. We'll keep listening to the interview, but there is a lot for you to learn in this video.
It's a bit.
The code of conduct is like how our soldiers should conduct themselves.
Okay.
You know, respecting human rights, make sure no one is subjected to torture. We are very clear that rape is a crime which we will not tolerate. We are very clear about the protection of our civilians. But this is war. And as I said to the police, and I say it publicly, under my leadership for 8 years, you've not had more than 30 civilians who have been killed. You don't.
So he has admitted that not more than 30 civilians have been killed under his leadership. If they verify and realize that more than 30 civilians have been killed under his leadership, it escalates the case. And that is a window to target everyone else with the label Ambazonia. I know we have King Kongs in the community, but they will serve as an example for everyone else to learn.
Don't have that. And so I take full responsibility for what I say. And I think the police has misunderstood because they have not taken my speeches into context. I make my speeches to strengthen the faith of our people, not to give up.
Exactly. Not to train your people.
To strengthen our people. So when you listen to my speech,
again, when you admit that you make speeches to strengthen your people, now they will go into those speeches and they will look for foreseeable outcomes. Is there a foreseeable outcome that your speech could create and civilians become the target? This speech, I mean, you have the right to remain silent. You must not speak. The Fifth Amendment. Every other nation has some version of the Fifth Amendment. You have the right to remain silent.
today, you might like, bro, that's really strong. But if you will listen to my speech during World War II,
Yeah.
you will say, wow, this is inspiring.
Inspiring.
So for a Norwegian listening to my speech today in peacetime, they may feel like, well, it's really strong.
Yeah.
But if Norway is attacked today and I make that same speech,
They will feel otherwise.
they will feel otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's the misconception that they have about my speeches or my Twitter messages.
Some say that conflict revolves around language, French versus English. What do you think about that?
No, it's not about language. It's about existence. Cameroon has never recognized us as human beings. Cameroon has never recognized our humanity.
He said something there that is okay, that this conflict is not about language. I said this is a Southern Cameroon's La République du Cameroon conflict. We don't have a union treaty. All our people did was vote. So La République extending their administration into Southern Cameroons without sequential documentation is illegal based on international law. Let's keep listening.
See, the question in Ambazonia and Cameroon has nothing to do with language. It has something to do with another country invading our country in 1961. We were the first democracy in Africa. We were the first country in Africa that organized free and fair elections.
You see, explain the legal process. What actually happened? You take them to the plebiscite, state formation. We cannot deny that the UN didn't organize a plebiscite in Southern Cameroons. And you're using the word country. We were a nation.
We were the first democracy in Africa. We were the first country in Africa that organized free and fair elections. Ambazonia, between 1954 and 1960, we got in 3 prime ministers. Cameroon came in, invaded our country.
Ambazonia. They have historians. They are going to verify. Was there any trust territory in 1959 called Ambazonia? It will be inaccurate in the records. Look at every document from the United Nations, from Britain, says Southern Cameroons. They will label this as an insurgency group, a terrorist group. I've heard our people say these things, that we were the first in Africa to organize free and fair elections. But we have to contextualize everything. We were being administered by Britain at the time. So the power transition from Dr. E.M.L. Endele to John Gu Fonja was supervised by Britain. When I look at us today, the teachers and the lawyers went on the street marching in 2016. The movement was hijacked to Ambazonia that has no historical record or continuity based on the history of Southern Cameroons. And every leader has been hijacking power since then from the other. We've come up with a strategy that is worse than the dictatorship we see in Africa. That if you're working with someone and you feel like you don't like what they're doing, just hijack power, jump out there, create your own group, and just move on. So again, we're being administered by Britain. We didn't invent democracy. Some of you who hate the West so bad. I mean, how can you even talk about free and fair elections? Where did that idea come from? Is that something authentic from our culture? Or the West, the same West you hate? Some come over here, get a job, drive cars that they wouldn't have imagined to be a reality if they were back home, turn around and still insult America, still insult the nations that helped them. They've used past trauma to justify ingratitude. Ungrateful human beings. You read your Bible, look at the story of Daniel, Joseph. They found themselves in foreign nations, yet they were grateful. Nehemiah, they were grateful about life. They were grateful and they served with all their heart. That Nehemiah said, oh, my people are in trouble. And the king wrote the decree and said, go down there and build the broken walls of Israel and help your people. Today we have people that are ungrateful. They will use all sorts of historical narrative to justify that bad character. I want you to remember when you were at the embassy begging to come to these countries. Some of you went through Mexico just to get here. The reason why I emphasize on this point is because I'm seeing the manifestation of that behavior in our community. Those who are ungrateful for what America or the European nations that define themselves have done for them. They behave with each other the same way in the community. They are ungrateful to everyone in the community. They are entitled. They feel like it's a right for me to study and provide this information for you to understand your history and do the right thing. Entitlement. That is a kind of culture. People who come up with all sorts of historical narrative as a reason to justify why they won't do better for their lives turn out this way. It doesn't end with them blaming the West. They blame everyone around them. They are not accountable. They won't be focused to build institutions. They want to destroy everything, and then they will give reasons. It's the spirit of ingratitude. Whatever your great-grandparents went through, what can you do for your own life today? The West, whatever they went through, they use that as a stepping stone to the next level. Even in your Bible, Joseph was sold as a slave by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave. He turned that around and became a governor in Egypt. They throw your grandparents, great-grandparents into a pit, and you use that as a justification for bad character today. That is why you are ungrateful to each other. That is why you look down on each other. That is your attitude. It is a manifestation of ungratefulness. The democracy you talk about that we had in southern Cameroon, the West introduced that to you. Britain did introduce that to you. Your mobile phone was created by the West. The car that you drive was created by the West. The job that you have, you got that in the West. To be that ungrateful, I don't trust you. No matter what I do, you will be ungrateful. Same spirit. And that is why our community is the way it is. Entitlement everywhere. If the West really hurt you this bad, why don't you go back home? How can you be among the people that you blame as the cause of all your problems? You speak their language, go to their schools, use their social media, their phones, their cars. Let your words and your thoughts match your action. I will respect you. You're just a complainer that wants to bring about disorder, and you're using some historical trauma to justify your behavior. And you've indoctrinated our people to be raised in this habit. It ends here. The West, whatever they go through, they make sure that they solve that problem, and they use it as a stepping stone to the next level. These people going around talking about Pan-Africanism, if you put them together and give them 5 steps to detach from this West and build something that is authentically the Africa that they claim, they won't show up. Try it. Tell them, let's stop complaining. The West did all these things to you. They will say, oh, no, don't bring that Western idea here. No, okay. Tell them, step number 1, step number 2. 5 steps to detach from the West and build something that is authentically you. They will run away. The democracy, the corruption that you talk about in Africa, bad government, the West taught you to identify these challenges in your environment. We never had people rotating in power like this. It's not a culture that we had in Africa. This is reality. We waste our people's time, put them in very tough conditions, and then we go around saying we are intellectuals. Doesn't add up. Let's keep listening.
Dismantled our parliament, dismantled our government, and then dismantle our economic system, trying to make us slaves in our country, in our own home, and still does not give us respect. Bullies us, call us les ennemis de la maison, enemies of the house, call us 2 cubes of sugar that they can dissolve.
Okay, if we look at some of the things you said, it seems you really intend to kill, or what is your story?
No. They are standard in.
We see that you intend to kill. This is your story. This specific interview incriminated Cho Ayaba and anyone with the Amazonian level than anything you can find on social media. The Norwegian courts will work on this. You have the right to remain silent, get a lawyer. Some of this tells me why those who never came to America through the embassy or went to Europe through the embassy, you probably never had the experience of going through an interview. Because when you go through that process, you realize that if you say too much, you will not be given a visa. If you can't justify why you're coming over, you won't be given a visa. And if they ask you a question, never say more than what is enough to answer that question.
Okay, if we look at some of the things you said, it seems you really intend to kill, or what is your story?
No. They are standard international practice. Those who collaborate with the enemies are considered enemies of freedom. It happened here in Norway in the 40s. Those who collaborated with the Nazis were seen as enemies of Norway.
Yeah.
Even women who slept with German soldiers were described as Tisketos.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
German bitches.
Yes.
And their hairs were shaved. We have said we are going to.
When you invoke emotions out of Norwegians like this, thinking you're making comparison, this is an error. Now, let's address the uncomfortable truth. The strongest material in this case does not come from La République du Cameroon. It comes from Cho Ayaba himself, and you've heard some in this interview. Public speeches he has made in the past, interviews, social media messages, statements about our forces, responsibility. He said he takes full responsibility. That is dangerous. And collaborators. He talks about those who collaborate with La République du Cameroon. You know, we call them black leg. Norway does not need Cameroon's permission to examine those statements. I told you everything is La Republic so that they don't take responsibility. They are public. These messages are public. They are self-authored by Cho Ayaba himself. And under European law, speeches by leaders during conflict can carry criminal exposure even without direct orders. This is the core lesson. You can believe in a cause. You can believe in justice. But in Europe, words are treated as actions when spoken by people with authority during war. So why is he still in prison? Not because guilt has been proven, not because La République du Cameroun demanded it. We give these people too much credit. Too much credit. We give La République du Cameroun too much credit. La République du Cameroun does not have the jurisdictional power to solve this problem. Southern Cameroon is an international territory, trusteeship territory. If there is any problem with that territory, the UN is responsible. Britain, the administering authority, is responsible, not La République du Cameroun. That is why you were running after Issa Tchiroma Bakari, because you believe somehow he will give you freedom. Not even federation will cut this up. This is a UN trust territory, my people. This is not Biafra. Our people are so confused today. Biafra is part of a recognized state called Nigeria. Biafra is part of a recognized state called Nigeria. Southern Cameroon is a UN trust territory distinct from La République du Cameroun before 1961. We just mix our case with every other case that we find around. Confuse our people. And many don't even know what they're talking about. Not because guilt has been proven, not because La République demanded it, but because Norway believes the investigation is serious. Number one, the risks are real. If we allow you out there and you keep making the speeches, more civilians will lose their lives. And due process must run its course without interference. So the takeaway is not fear. I told you we don't have to be scared. We have to say never again. We solve this problem the right way. Never again. Are our people going to live this way? Our international status must be defined. If not, our people live in this pain for hundreds of years. Everything else is going to be a band-aid. Federalism, new president in La République du Cameroun is all band-aid. We deserve better. We don't have to be managing our condition this way, hoping that some people have mercy on us. Then we have a clear legal path to solve this problem. So the takeaway is not fear. The takeaway is discipline. We be factual. I want to ask all of you in the Southern Cameroons and those who call themselves Ambazonian. You said you were clamoring for leaders. What are the criteria of those leaders? And if that leader show up, how will you recognize that is the leader? You need to come up with a list so that when you see that leader, you say, oh, I'll take instructions from this leader because they understand. Number one, that leader must understand the trusteeship history of Southern Cameroons. From 1953 right up to 1961. They should understand that history. That is number one. They have to understand the legal gaps. What was missing and why are our people in pain till today? if they cannot articulate that with calmness, precision, discipline, structure, they are not fit to lead Southern Cameroons. They must be able to distinguish between armed groups and this legal clarity. They don't join everything. That is why I told you, I'm not a spokesman for any armed group on the ground, but I can give directions on what you can do to manage this situation while we find legal clarity. And all the institutions in Southern Cameroon, this is time for you to join with your people. Whatever you're doing with La Republic will not last without legal clarity, without this legal foundation being settled. Your people went on the street in 2016 for you, for your institutions. The movement was hijacked by our own people, and they declared independence under Ambazonia. That has no historical continuity. Does not appear in any document around the world when it has to do with Southern Cameroons. The idea was created in 1985 by Gojin Dinka. It was all emotion driven. So if you want international legitimacy, you must speak with legal clarity, not emotional authority. I don't even hear any facts. I don't hear any facts. Just emotion, just emotion, just emotion. Even in prison, sir, reflect. Those who are in prison, make sure you send my videos and have them watch it. Some of them might be released, but some will incriminate themselves and remain in prison forever. Our goal is that some come out, redeem themselves. Facts matter, words matter, and law always moves slower than emotion. That's why some came here immediately. They heard I said 2 to 5 years. They're like, oh, that's too long. Pressure everywhere. Pressure. This is 10 years. You are still mounting pressure. The West is to be blamed. Those of you who are blaming France, so France is the one who decided for you to choose Issa Tchiroma Bakari during this election. We had many people out there. You chose Issa Tchiroma Bakari. Is it France that made that decision for you? Is it France that sent you on the street? France. Is it France? I'm not denying the business ties and relationship and political relationship France has with Cameroon. But you guys, you exaggerate everything. It's too much. Everything France. Let's go ahead and listen to that video to the end, and then we'll wrap this up.
Arrest you.
Yeah, right.
And we are very clear about that. We have 20,000 Amazonians have been killed, and the majority of them were killed because you have spies and traitors who work with Cameroon forces. More than 1,000 villages were burnt because these spies, they embed in Cameroon with Cameroon soldiers, go to the villages, show them the places, they burn it down. The greatest threat to our freedom, to our security, are the spies and collaborators who have enabled this regime to be in power for 56 years.
People don't even have clarity about their own story, about their own history. And they go on to call others blackleg. What qualified you to label someone blackleg and take their life? Over Ambazonia? Let's really press reset this 2026. Those who continue down this path, you will be accountable to the people of Southern Cameroons after you're done with this international community, because you don't have any value for our lives. That is why you do what you do. You're more scared of these European nations than us. Let me make a quick distinction between Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. For those who are confused, history has been rewritten. So our people are in limbo as we speak. Southern Cameroon's legal strength, the name all by itself has legal strength. More than 87 counties were present on April 21st, 1961. The name has legal strength, not Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, no AKA. Southern Cameroon's was formally recognized UN trust territory, clearly administered under British trusteeship. Continuity. Explicitly referenced in UN General Assembly records. Legally distinct from La République du Cameroun. Subject of a defined decolonization process. So incomplete decolonization process. This matters because courts protect legal process, not emotional narrative. What you heard there is an emotional narrative. And when you do that, go out there, gather your groups and say it's black leg, it's La République du Cameroun. A Southern Cameroon's argument reframes the issue as incomplete decolonization, jurisdictional defect, treaty absence, legal continuity dispute. This I can stand before any court on earth and show Britain, the United Nations, this process was not complete. I want proof that this process was complete. Not an exchange of notes. If you say it is an exchange of notes, I want you to show me the terms of the union in that exchange of notes. And what was the exit plan for the people of Southern Cameroon in case things didn't work out? Not war. Ambazonia, legally weak, derived from Ambas Bay, Bimbia, Isubu, Limbe, Victoria, a small area in Southwest. You can't even name the entire Southwest Ambazonia or Ambas Bay, the Bay area. So it was created around 1840 to 1860. Ambas Bay. And then they turned it into Ambazonia in 1985 by Gojin Dinka because he was following La République's internal politics. Cho Ayaba took it back to 1960. They infiltrated our land in 1960 called Ambazonia. And we can't find any UN record with the name Ambazonia on it. This is a story coming out of your leader, one of the top leaders in your movement. Pay attention to this, because whatever that name carries rubs off on all of you. No UN trusteeship designation, no international boundary definition, no treaty-based personality, no continuity in international legal records. Those Norwegians know the history of Southern Cameroons. They are not ignorant that you show up before them and tell them anything and they believe. They have historians. That is a European nation. They are not dumb. So from a court's perspective, it looks like a modern revolutionary identity asserting retroactive statehood that makes every armed claim look extra legal. Every armed claim with the name Ambazonia looks extra legal. You can tap on Southern Cameroons. We know what this initiative is all about. It's Ambazonia. Your national anthem says it all. Ambazonia, that's how you say it. And you play on the people's history. You turn your own people. Because when you listen to Cho Ayaba, let's listen some more, but I want you to understand What drives people? What drives people to go to this extent? What is the motivation? Why? Let's listen some more.
Could we ask you, how did you get from Germany to Norway?
And this is one of okay, this is one of the fantasies we have always looked at. When we do a struggle like this,
Yeah.
we look at every different countries, their model, whether in education, their governance, management of their economic resources, and we've always looked at the Norwegian model. I came to Norway also because in 1961, Norway voted. There were 61 countries that voted for Ambazonians' independence, and Norway voted for our independence. You look at Norway's history. Norway was under Denmark. It didn't stay there. It was under Sweden. It didn't stay there. Norway is one of the countries that has voted twice to stay out of the European Union. So Norway has preserved its own independence. So it has been a model, the way it manages the Norwegian fund. Ambazonia is rich in oil. And we have looked at the way Norway has managed its oil funds. And with
even in prison, the intention is clear. This was all about oil. We will not build southern Cameroons based on oil. We'll build southern Cameroons based on creativity. If there is oil, that is secondary. Every nation with this narrative of oil, you've seen Venezuela. Every movement or nation with this oil narrative, you've seen Venezuela. You reduce your people to nothing because of oil. Brainwash them, rewrite their history, subjugate them, take some out, take away their lives. It's been all about the oil. This is very sad. You rewrite their history. Tell them they are Ambazonians. And they have to accept because you have a gun. I want to wrap up this session with a message to our elites and the younger generation who have certain ideologies that have crippled you mentally from making progress. The Bible says it clearly in plain language. A house divided against itself cannot stand. And a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That is not just spiritual truth. It is political, psychological, and national truth. We call ourselves Pan-Africanists. Some have those labels in our community. When you say you are a Pan-Africanist, I know you'll be of no good to us. I've studied that idea. The original Pan-Africanist, not Kwame Nkrumah's version of Pan-Africanism. I believe in what the original Pan-Africanist stood for, not the Kwame Nkrumah's version of Pan-Africanism. What Sylvester Williams, a lawyer from Trinidad, stood for. What W.E.B. Du Bois, a sociologist from America, what they stood for. What they sat down in London to talk about, Pan-Africanism. I believe in that. But this one Africa, Africa without borders. You want an Africa without borders, yet you are fighting Paul Biya for infiltrating your territory. Doesn't add up. We call ourselves Pan-Africanist, and we say Africa should have no borders. Yet we resist Paul Biya precisely because his military crosses into our land. Contradictions, mental contradictions. We say we are against the West, yet we line up at Western embassies, cross deserts and oceans, and risk our lives to enter the same countries we insult. A house divided by itself cannot stand. We benefit from Western technology, Western jobs, Western laws, Western protections. Some of you speak freely in the West than you do in your own country. Yet you insult the West. Yet we curse the very system that sustains us. You cannot feed off of someone and still insult them. Whatever justification you give, oh, we are having these jobs, oh, but they are also extracting raw materials. No, brother, cut the link. I can't trust you. You can't be an upright person with that kind of mindset. You will be corrupt by default. If they are extracting raw materials and you are benefiting by having jobs in their countries, so the equation is equal. Why are you complaining? You collapse under the weight of your own logic. That is double-mindedness. And scripture is clear. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Instability does not produce freedom. Mental instability, you can never be free if you're mentally unstable. That is why even our story is not clear. The way we go about doing things is not strategic. It produces confusion. Instability does not produce freedom. It produces confusion. Our people are not consistent with their story. Ambazonia existed in 1961. We gained our independence. We did not even gain our independence. You gain your independence into a vacuum. When you gain your independence as a separate state, the United Nations should recognize you. If that didn't happen, the process was incomplete. The Bible also tells us something uncomfortable. The children of Israel were sent into a land to spy. God was preparing that land for them. They returned and said, we saw ourselves as grasshoppers in our own eyes. That is the real problem. We speak as if one man holds our destiny. Pobia. Even in America, you are not free. Even in Europe, you are not free. We fear power instead of building institutions. We honor foreign cultures more than our own inheritance. They speak with their mouth as though they hate the West. Come see them smiling when they go before a white man. And then when they meet their own people, see the frown on their face. I catch them at that moment, every time, including those who will not smile with you. But when they hear someone speaking French from La République du Cameroon, you see the smile on their face. You can understand this individual is trapped. Before anyone defeated us, we defeated ourselves in our thinking. Now pay attention to this. We've gone through this crisis for 9 to 10 years. No prominent Francophone elite has stood with us or go before international courts to advocate for us. We have been through this all by ourselves. At the end of 1763, France lost a war to Britain. Britain celebrated their victory openly. As the British people were celebrating their victory, the French people realized they are not like us. And that gave birth to French nationalism. After 9 to 10 years, what we have gone through, if we can't set aside our differences, look at the thousands of people we've lost and say we are Southern Cameroonians, nothing else will teach us this bitter lesson that we've just gone through. When France lost that war to Britain, the way the British people celebrated their victory made the French people to realize that we are different from them. Let this 9 to 10 years be a classic example for every elite elder in our community to realize that no one is coming to save us. Whether you come from the northwest or from the southwest, whatever that village is, we are Southern Cameroonians. And if we can't realize this now, nothing else will teach us this bitter lesson we have just gone through. For 65 years, and especially in the last decade of suffering, no Francophone elite stood with Southern Cameroonians. That silence ended the debate. Clarity arrived. And we should understand that we don't jump in there to play politics with them. All these soft emotional narratives will only increase the pain on your people. To our institutions and leaders of the Southern Cameroons, a divided house will not stand. You have something so powerful in the Southern Cameroons to cherish, to uphold, more than what La Republic has. In terms of institutions, the common law system is more superior than a civil law system. Again, a house divided by itself will not stand. A double-minded people will not advance. Do not mortgage your children's future for acceptance under a broken system. Do not mortgage your children's future. Leaders, pastors, funds, chiefs of the Southern Cameroons, do not mortgage your children's future for acceptance under a broken system. The brokenness in La République du Cameroon is globally recognized. Stand with your people, because freedom begins when the mind becomes whole. And for those who think it is God that will solve this problem, I don't know your version of Christianity that you have. God will never appear on earth to fix human problems. He will only solve those problems through you. From one of the church fathers, St. Augustine of Hippo, he said, pray as though everything depends on God, but walk as though everything depends on you. That is what built America. Pray. Do not relent. Pray as though everything depends on God, but walk hard. Let's walk hard as though everything depends on us. That is the balance. This is your biggest takeaway from this video. Law number 1, never outshine the master. Share this video with a friend and a loved one. Subscribe so that every time a video is uploaded, you'll be the first to be notified. I believe in us so much, and I believe change is coming to Southern Cameroons. Until next time, remain blessed.
Southern Cameroon's crown of freedom, you have it. A first world nation in a third world continent, you have it. Put your mind to the process, cutting edge systems, you have it. With top tier strategy, I don't see us losing, you have it. With great institutions, one single vision, you have it. Make Africa stable for trade and worship, you